Aloha, and welcome back to Live at the Legislature. My name's Jacob Aki, and I'm from the Senate Comms Office. Today, we are joined by Senator Stanley Chang. Senator Chang represents Senate District 9, which includes the areas of Hawaii Kai, Kuli'o'o, Niu, Aina Haina, Waialae, and Diamond Head. Senator Chang is also the chair of the Senate Committee on Housing. Senator Chang, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me today, Jacob. It's great to be back.
Thank you, Senator. For this upcoming legislative session, you've introduced a number of very innovative bills. One of them, SB1, which is being called the Aloha Homes bill, is a bill that you've been working on for the past couple of years. Can you share a bit about what SB1 aims to do?
Absolutely. SB1, Aloha Homes, stands for Affordable Locally Owned Homes for All. And my aim has been for the last few years, and continues to be, to end the housing shortage in Hawaii. Now, a lot of folks really believed that the demand from Airbnbs and vacation rentals was what was causing the high price of housing in Hawaii. As we've seen during the pandemic, even though demand from overseas has crashed, housing prices have continued to hit record highs. Just last month, $890,000 for a house on Oahu and over $1 million for a house on Kauai. What we need is more supply. And we need supply that is environmentally sustainable, that is available to all the people of Hawaii on an equal basis, where you cannot make windfall profits. And basically, the Aloha Homes program would take existing state-owned lands near rail stations, build high-density housing with a minimum of cars so that there will be a minimum of traffic impacts, and make those units available on a revenue-neutral basis to the state, so no subsidy, at cost, to Hawaii residents who would be owner-occupants and who own no other real property. So absolutely no overseas investors. And it's my aim that we produce tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of units through this program and end the housing shortage in Hawaii, and ensure that every generation in Hawaii has access to an unlimited amount of very reasonably priced housing for our children and to raise a family.
Thank you, Senator. And as the housing chair, you've also introduced a bill to create the Department of Housing. As you know, we do have many agencies that deal with the issue of housing here in our state. So what would this bill to create the Department of Housing do?
Well, you're exactly right, Jacob. We have an alphabet soup of agencies that deal with housing, including HHFDC, HPHA, the Office of Planning, the TOD Council, and so on. And what we're trying to do with this bill is, as a symbolic measure more than anything else, to consolidate those agencies under one state cabinet-level department, the Department of Housing, which would send a strong signal to all the people of Hawaii, including the legislature, including the governor and the executive branch, that housing is now going to be one of the core missions of the state of Hawaii, just like the Department of Transportation, the Department of Education, and remind everybody that it is the state's responsibility to end the housing shortage here.
We're going to move on to a different topic, a topic that is very interesting to me. You also introduced SB 721, and SB 721 would look to create a continuous legislative session. Can you share a bit about that too?
Yeah, so that's a bill that's based on my experience as a Honolulu City Council member. And Honolulu, like the other 3 counties of Hawaii, have continuous council sessions. There's no adjournment sine die. And even opening day is more of a formality because there's no deadlines for any bill except the budget. Every bill must receive multiple hearings, 3 hearings, just like we have here. Every bill goes to committee here. But there's a more deliberate pace. There's no need to dump the kitchen sink, into bill introduction before the deadline, because there's no deadline for bill introduction. And if there are, disputes among the stakeholders, a committee chair can very easily say, well, take a month and come back to us with common ground, with a compromise proposal next month, or 3 months from now, or 6 months from now. And perhaps most importantly, by getting rid of the deadlines, we would get rid of the mad rush, the mad sense of urgency that happens with all of the deadlines that happen at the state capitol, in particular, most egregious, in my opinion, being conference. And so it would really help to make the legislative process much more transparent, much more deliberative, and much more easily accessible to the public. And I think that's our duty as state legislators.
Thanks, Senator. So, we've talked about housing. We've talked about possibly reforming government. What are some of your other priorities for this session? This is a very unprecedented session, but, I think folks out there want to know, what are your priorities to deal with some of our state's most pressing issues?
So in addition to the housing crisis, which we've been aiming to solve, one of my personal passions is mental health. The short answer is I know a lot of my friends and a lot of loved ones close to me who have suffered from serious mental health issues. And the pandemic has exacerbated those situations. Recent studies have shown that as much as 90% of young people have experienced some sort of mental health effects. And one of the biggest problems that we face with mental health is the issue of stigma, that it's not treated the same as a physical health condition because people are embarrassed and ashamed. And so one way that we're trying to ameliorate the stigma of mental health is to introduce mandatory annual, or to require insurers to offer annual mental health checkups. Just like you get an annual physical exam, it should now be normal to go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist who can ask you questions, who can ask you in a non-judgmental, totally normal way about if you're having sleep problems, about any of these other issues that might be symptoms of a mental health condition that can be as serious and debilitating, and often much more debilitating than a physical health issue. And I think that because it would be widely available on a widespread basis, I think that would really help to destigmatize mental health conditions.
Thanks, Senator. And, in going through your bill intro list, maybe the last measure that we could talk about is your bill to establish a statewide housing savings. Can you quickly talk about that? Because I think that's something many people out there may not have a full understanding of.
Sure. So here in America, we have Social Security and Medicare, two very successful programs based on payroll savings deductions. In Singapore, they have a third element, which is for housing. And so what I would propose is a 5% opt-out, entirely voluntary savings program, no tax benefits, but also no restrictions on how you spend the money. You can spend it on Christmas presents or a vacation, but it would be called a housing savings account. And hopefully that money would be then available for down payments and for security deposits.
Thanks, Senator. And time has run out, but we just wanted to say thank you for joining us. And for those at home, we look forward to joining you next week. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jacob.
What are you doing? We have to go. I'm gonna be late for work.
It's Tuesday morning. I gotta record live at the legislature on Alelo. Senate and House leadership discussing what's happening at the state capitol.
So just watch it on the news tonight. Come on, let's go.
Hey, this is like getting the news before it's news. If only I could get this remote to work.
There. Can we go now?
No DVR? No problem. Watch Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. on Channel 49.